So they had different circles of friends. And some of those friends were from the school district. If I could get, I'll do it. I'll just we'll close the door. So this afternoon I talked to Clara's brother Don Kemp. He was driving back home today from Vicksburg, Mississippi. Clara is from Vicksburg, Mississippi, where she was born, was raised. Most of her childhood was in Vicksburg. And so Don called me, and Don couldn't make it tonight, but he had gone to Vicksburg to be with his older sister, Gwen. Gwen still lives there in Vicksburg. And so what they did this weekend in order to memorialize their sister is they went through the boxes of pictures that we had mailed months ago to some of the family. And so they sat down together last night and they went through photograph after photograph after photograph. And Don said that they laughed and laughed and cried. And he said he saw pictures of Clara he had never seen before. And so it was a great weekend. He said probably one of the best weekends he's ever had with his older sister. And he wanted us to know that they spent some time this past weekend intentionally going through family photos, telling family stories. And he wanted you to know that. He wanted you to know that, and he wanted to thank you for coming tonight, those who would come tonight and remember Clara. She has another sister, Faith. Faith is in Arizona. Faith's health is not good. She's not able to travel, but she also was part of the family that grew up there in Mississippi. And so we think about these people because they were Clara's immediate family. So Clara and Wimpy lived here in Copper's Cove for many years. They had no biological children. Wimpy had a son named Winfred Grimes as well, and he married a girl named Christy. So Christy sent these flowers that are here on the front tonight. So those flowers are from her, from Christy and Winfred in Kansas City, Missouri. She sent me an email yesterday. Was so sorry she could not make it. She wanted to be here, but she sends her greetings to you tonight. She knew we would be getting together. So that's from the family side. And then lastly, one of the things that Clara loved more than anything was to sing. She loved to sing. She loved to hear music. And she loved a variety of music. She certainly loved hymns. And so Fifth Sunday singing was one of her favorite things at Southern Hills that we did. And she always had a request. And from time to time, and my wife can tell you this better than I can, from time to time, she would get up here and she would sing. And so it took her a lot of courage to do that. That she would do that, because she really loved Jesus. So Isaiah 41, one of her favorite passages, verse 10, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you, and I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." So love that verse. We printed up some brochures for you so you could have to take with you. Remember her picture there. This picture you see on the table here is one of our last nights together here at Southern Hills. We were down in the fellowship hall. We were singing. And that's Clara in that picture. And she is singing and listening to our church family sing "It Is Well With My Soul." And she held her hand in the air the whole time. We sang every verse, and she never dropped her hand. And so that's actually a picture of that. It's not photoshopped or anything. That's how it came out. And so Ronnie gave that to me for tonight's service. And one of the things that Ronnie mentioned to me that he was pleasantly surprised by when he saw the picture was just how her hand was sort of lit up as she would raise that hand. And the arthritis in her joints and whatnot. And she could see, it's almost as if she could see and reach for the light that she knew was coming. And so now she has face to face and has brilliant light surrounding her. We're going to sing. So we want to ask you to participate, but not just simply in singing, but I'm going to give you an opportunity to make a request. If there's a song that you would like for us to sing, if there is a memory, a story that you would like for us to tell, I've got a microphone right here. We don't want to embarrass you. You don't have to come up front. I'm just going to come right to you. You can stay in the comforts of your own seat, and you can share something about Clara Grimes at your own desire. But this service is really about us to express to each other our gratitude and thanksgiving for Miss Clara. And we've done this with other members that we've lost. And I'll be able to share with you other stories about that. So where are we going to sing? Great is Thy Faithfulness, hymn number 54. We'll begin there. Verse 1 and verse 3. Great is Thy faithfulness, O God my Father. There is no shadow of turning with Thee. Thou changest not, Thy compassions they fail not. As Thou hast been, Thou forever wilt be. Great is Thy faithfulness, great is Thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, Thy hand hath provided. Great is Thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Pardon for sin and the peace that endureth. Thine own dear presence to cheer and to guide. Strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow. Blessings are mine with 10,000 beside. Great is Thy faithfulness, great is Thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, Thy hand hath provided. Great is Thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Come thou fount of every blessing. And number 15. Clara often would say, I'm glad the Lord sent us a singing preacher. Those were some of her encouraging words to me to keep singing. Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing Thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet, sung by flaming tongues above. the mountain fixed upon it, mount of thy redeeming love. Here I raise my Ebenezer, hither by thy help I'm come, and I hope by thy good pleasure save me to arrive at home. Jesus saw me when a stranger, wandering from the fold of God. He to rescue me from danger, interposed his precious blood. Oh, to grace how great a debtor daily I constrain to be. Let thy grace, Lord, like a fetter, bind my wandering heart to thee. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, Lord, take and seal it for thy counsel above. Clara was married to Wimpy many years, and Wimpy was a diabetic. Anybody here married to a diabetic? Anybody know a diabetic? Yeah? Okay. They're sneaky people. And Wimpy would misbehave, if you will, with his diet. And he loves sweets. I want to turn this off, sorry. He loves sweets, and so one of the things I learned early on coming to Texas to be one of the pastors here is that I would go to the house, whether they lived on Grimes Crossing or whether they lived back here on the Loop. I always find a piece of candy stashed somewhere. But especially in the freezer, Wimpy would keep Reese's peanut butter cups and little Snickers snacks and anything he could get his hands on. And so for all these years I thought, who keeps feeding this habit? Well, I mean, this sweet tooth habit thing. And so one day I just simply asked Clara, I keep finding volumes of treats in different places of your home. There's a cabinet where there's a bag of this or that, and then there's a bag of this or that in the freezer, and a bag of this or that in his chair, and a lot of paper stuffed down in the side of the chair, and then there's a pouch on the recliner, and I stuck my hand down there one time and pulled out some candy I didn't even recognize, things like that. And so I asked her, I said, well, where's all this come from? And she just looked at me as if she'd been caught in a conundrum. And she finally just said, well, he insists on having these things. But you do the shopping, right? Yes. So you're really the one buying these things. Well, he insists, and I do what I say. I do what I'm told. I do what he says. So and so I said, okay, I won't pry or ask any more questions. I really don't want to know any more answers to you. But then I discovered that it's not just women. Clara also liked to have her sweets. And I remember talking to Don one time, and Don says, you may not know this about Clara, but she loved ice cream. She always had. And Wimpy may have liked the little chocolate bars and things like that, but Clara likes ice cream. And so tonight, in honor of her, we're going to have ice cream following, so you can stay for ice cream. But it was interesting because they were quite a pair. She would feed his sweet tooth habit because really she benefited from it too in a very sly way. So that's one of my funny stories. I've got lots of stories, but some of the ladies that are here on the front, I want you to introduce yourselves because we don't. And so, you may not know Miss Brown, I met Miss Brown a while ago right here.
secretary for retired teachers after she retired, and she's just a long time friend and wonderful lady.
So I recognize all your Melody because she was talking about you. I'm sure I was somewhere and met most of you at least one time.
That Clara was a good friend. We'll miss her a lot.
I'm Ella Island, and I knew about Clara. I really didn't know her well until I became president of the Copperas Cove Retired Teachers. And before, I believe we had one meeting where I had to preside, and Clara was there, and she called me. I had never really met her, but she called me and to let me know exactly how the meeting was to be carried out. And so I had all the notes and everything and was following exactly what she said, but she had her say in there to make sure that I knew what I needed to be doing there. So after that, Clara, I always spoke to Clara. I appreciated her so much doing that, really. And, but she was keeping me straight, just like she did everybody else in the school district when she was working there. And afterward, she's keeping everyone straight. But I really appreciated that. And we were friends after that.
I'm Mariana McDonald. She kept me straight at Copperas Cove Junior High when she was secretary to Ms. Alexander, and you all knew her as Gail Milligan. Yeah, Clara's rules of order. We don't need Roberts. You have Clara's. She was behind the scenes. It wasn't important to her to have to be served, but to serve.
I'm Carolyn Taylor, and I worked with Clara. I was a high school counselor, high school, and I worked with Clara, and she was always prompt, always had everything in place, never had to ask twice for anything, and she's very organized, but she's just a very nice, very pleasant all the time. I don't think I ever saw her frown on her face, or discouraged, or certainly not mad. She didn't show it if she was, but anyway, she's just a pleasant person to be around.
I'm Mary Torres. I was at the high school when Miss Grimes was there with Miss Milligan, and I remember she was very gracious when you went into the office, and very comforting and consoling, especially if you got called in by the principal. Because you'd go in and you'd think, oh my gosh, what have I done? And she would just say, don't worry about it. There's nothing wrong. She was always very comforting, a very kind person, someone you really loved to know.
One more thing about Clara I remember and appreciate so much was when my mother was in the nursing home. She would come by and visit my mother and me. She would bring a little gift, and just always so gracious to come and visit and be a friend, because she and my mother had worked together also at the school. And I appreciated that so much, and it means a lot to me, and I always remember it. And then when she was in the nursing home, I went to see her, and we had a good visit that day too.
Thank you so much, all of you, for helping us. You knew Clara in different contexts than we all experienced her and knew her. So, what a gift! What a gift to be able to share those things. Anybody else? We'll stand here to be close. Terry, you got something you want to share? Okay, bring you the mic.
What I remember about Miss Clara was the first time coming here, I felt a lot of warmth felt a lot of warmth and love from everyone here. But it seems like Miss Clara really stood out with me. She welcomed me, she hugged me, she held my hand. And even before leaving, she made sure that I jotted my address down on some card of hers. I did, and sure enough, like 2 or 3 days later, after getting back to Albuquerque, I received a card, and I seen that said Clara Grimes, but for whatever reason, I didn't open it. I'm looking at it, and I'm like, now why would Clara Grimes send me a card? It's not my birthday. It ain't a holiday. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I just kept back and forth, why was she sending me a card? Well, the obvious would be to open it and find out. So sure enough, I opened it, and there was such a beautiful card from her, how she welcomed me. She was glad she got to meet me, how much she adored my son and my family, and she hoped that I'd come back, and that I'll always have a home and family here. And sure enough, every time I came back, she always hugged me, she always held my hand, and shook my hand, and patted me, and whatever, and in the tea party that she had for all the widows, that was so warm. I've never been to a tea party, let alone a tea party for widows, and I was a part of that. I became a part of her family. It's funny because even before she left us, I would always greet her in the dining hall, and I would ask her if she remembered who I was, and she would tell me. Sometimes she remembered my name, and sometimes she didn't, but she always remembered I was Anthony's mom. So she's a dear lady, and she will be missed. She's in my heart. Thank you all for letting me meet all.
Thanks. Thank you, Terry. We're going to get a quick battery change on that. Battery's getting low. So we're going to get us. So you're going to have an opportunity to share. We're going to have some more opportunities. Let's sing a song. One of the songs that she loved, an old song. I'd rather have Jesus. You remember the Billy Graham Crusades, especially in the 70s, 80s. George Beverly Shea would sing this song. So let's sing this song. And this was really true for her. She didn't just sing this song because she thought it was lovely or beautiful. This is really true of who she was. And this is what she has left us to think about. I'd rather have Jesus. I'd rather have Jesus than silver or gold. I'd rather be His than have riches untold. I'd rather have Jesus than houses or lands. I'd rather be led by His nail-pierced hands. empowering spirit needs. I'd rather have Jesus and let Him lead than to be the king of a vast domain, only held in sin's dread sway. I'd rather have Jesus than anything this world affords today.
Well, there's a lot of things I could say about Clara. I'm not used to this. Well, there's many things I can say about Clara. In the last several years after she moved back here behind the church in her nice house, I used to go to her house, pick her up, take her to Walmart. You know, we know she liked jewelry, we know she liked clothes, and besides Jesus Christ, she liked that. But I would take her and we'd go all over the store and show her all the pretty things they had, and she would ooh and on. And one Christmas I took her to the jewelry department, and of course she looked, and she looked, and she looked all over. And finally she picked out about 3 pairs. We took them home. And then after we would go shopping, we would go to Applebee's and have lunch. And she would, just about every time we met, she would say the same things, but that's okay. She would talk about Wimp and how she missed him, how she met him, about his family, and the different things that they had up on the hill. And it was just a great time to have. I would tease her about, that's when she could get him in out of my van. I don't know if I could say this, but I'm going to say it anyhow. I'd say, okay, Clara, get your little bucket right up there. Just give yourself a little push. And of course I was helping her. But, those are all the fun things that we have her. We went to Kohl's one time and had some fun there, picking out some outfits. And, of course, we went to lunch while we was in clothing. And those are treasured times, and among a lot of other times, but she meant so much to me. And I was thinking about how she loved Jesus first. She loved the church. She loved her family. They loved the Word. Her and Wimp both spent so much time in the Word study. I would maybe call over there when they were still on the hill and Wimp was alive, and I'd say, "What you been doing?" And she said, "Well, just vegging out," she'd say, maybe if they weren't doing anything. "What's Wimp doing?" "He's been studying all day long." So he's been in the Word, and she read lots and lots of books. She was a wonderful friend, and I just treasure all the memories that I have.
She loved Applebee's burgers. Every time she and I went to Applebee's, she got a burger, but none of that plastic cheese. Had to be real. Plastic cheese.
Plastic cheese. Is that the kind you unwrap from the? Oh, okay. It's not real, though. It's sandwich. It's a real cheddar. All right, that's pretty funny. Anybody else? Of course. I'm sitting right here.
Clara and I weren't friends for a long, long time, but we were very good friends. She meant so much to me. And when they were talking about what she liked, among the things she liked, and I would get fussed at by somebody sitting beside me. Because every time I went to visit her, I would bring her ice cream, or I'd bring her sundae, or a root beer float, and I had left one in the kitchen for her tonight. And she also liked Chick-fil-A, so I'd bring her Chick-fil-A, and we would have a great time. She'd eat it, we'd talk, and she told me all about her family and all about wonderful things. And we talked about the Bible and the stories in the Bible and what everything meant. I just love Clara so much.
Clara made me a better pastor because she also would give me notes and give me reminders to write a note to someone and give me information about somebody's phone number and address and all those things. But she prayed for me. And I've met a lot of people over the years, but I don't know that there are many. I don't know that there are many people that I've met that were so persistent and faithful in praying, especially for me, because she'd always tell me what she was praying for me, and that always meant a lot. I didn't realize how much that meant until she could no longer tell me that. And so we need the Lord to raise up some prayer warriors at Southern Hills, because we need that prayer covering. We need that intercession. Jason and I need that type of support behind the scenes, spiritual giants that are holding up things that we can't see. And we need that. We need that for our families. So Clara would always remind me that the bullseye was on my back and my family because I was the pastor. And Jason and I have talked about this the last few months. And that things change when the church recognizes you as the pastor. You really come under a spiritual assault like something you can never imagine. And so Clara was one of those prayer warriors that she fought for you in prayer. And if there's anything that's going to make a real gap, it would be we'll miss that more than anything else. I'll miss it. You'll miss it. My family will miss it. Because she loved the people of Southern Hills. And she was always for you. She was always an encourager. When the Bible talks about the gift of encouragement, and I've said this before, this is one of those gifts that we don't see a lot in the church, but she was one of those people who had that gift. And she worked hard at it. And so when I hear you ladies who were in the school district with her, I hear Clara. That's who she was here at Southern Hills as well. And she was the same person. Sure.
About her prayer.
Yes, but you have to say it in the microphone.
He was talking about how she was a prayer warrior, and she really was. Well, I work at Walmart, and I work in clean, and I'm a cashier, so I meet millions of people. And I don't know how many times I'll meet somebody through my life, and I'll maybe find out that maybe they're having marital problems, maybe their son's in prison, or something like that. And I would write their name down on a piece of paper, and maybe on my lunch hour I would call Clara and I'd say, Clara, I met this man, I met this lady. They've got very bad family problems. One mother, her son's in prison, and she said she raised 4 boys, but out of the 4 boys, 1 is in prison, and I may not see him for a long time. So I don't know how many times I've called her and told her about somebody at work, of course, shared with her my kids if they're any kind of problems, and she would pray for them too. The whole church prays for my family. But she was somebody really good that you could know that she was going to pray for them. I just had to add that.
What a lot of people don't know is a long time ago, I used to be the Sunday school director. And one of the things I did to collect up all the attendance reports from all the different Sunday schools. Clara would come to me after Sunday school let out, and she would get a list, not of the people who were there, but the people who missed. And she went out, purchased a program for her computer, and she generated cards. If you missed Sunday school, you were getting a card from Clara, just to let you know. And it wasn't to beat you up, it was just to let you know that she noticed you wasn't there, and she hoped you were doing okay. And so, I mean, that's just how she was. She never made a big splash on anything, she sent you a card. As things progressed, there was a while there where we didn't have a pastor of any kind, and we were searching high and low. And we had to have a members meeting. I remember that. To this day, I can't remember what about it. I was out working on Wimp's computer, and Clara said, you know, we have this members meeting coming up. I said, yes, ma'am. She goes, we need a meeting, a mediator. I said, okay. She goes, well, we've decided we'd like you to do it. I never found out who we was. But we decided that Jim was going to do it. I said, well, okay, I guess I could do that. And when I left that evening, she said, I really want you to pray about this. And she handed me a book, Robert's Rules of Order.
She had another book called Clara's Rules of Order. But it was much sweeter. It was Clara's suggestions of orders, what it was. Suggestions. All right, anybody else? Oh, there we go. You have to raise your hand high. Sorry, it took me a minute to see it. All right, Ariana.
So we didn't have the pleasure of knowing Miss Clara more than just a couple of years, but it's pretty amazing just kind of the personal impact that she had on us. She was very adamant. Derek came here before I did, and she was very adamant to get his contact information because she wanted us to come back, and so we did. And so we were talking about, introducing ourselves to her and her to us, and she found out that, Derek was in the Army, and her husband was also in the Army. And the first thing she said was how they were stationed in Alaska, and how she loved being in Alaska. And it's funny because we added Fort Hood to our list to avoid going to Alaska. So when she said that, I was like, I'm glad you liked it, I'm glad I didn't have to go. And so she just could not believe that I was not excited for the idea to go to Alaska. So anywho, she came back the next Sunday with like 4 or 5 magazines of Alaska. Because she wanted me to appreciate. And I don't know, it really kind of resonated with me. So much so that and they were beautiful. I still don't want to go, but it was beautiful. So anywho, I really wanted to kind of appreciate that. So I picked my favorite ones and I framed them, and they're like in my house right now. That was like before, we really got to know her. I'm glad that I'll have kind of that little bit of, of her. Because like I said, we didn't know her that long. And not just that, but we picked her up a few times from her house and from the nursing home to come to church. It amazed me that she was always in pain, but she always came to church. And, I have a rough morning sometimes, and I talk myself out of things. And I'm nowhere near in the amount of pain that she was in. She was, you could feel it, and you would help her onto her wheelchair, into the car, out of her car, and she was always here. And so, I wish that we would have known her a lot longer, but, I'll take it. 2 years, I'll take it. It was.
Anybody else?
Jim was talking about the cards that Clara used to send. As she got older and started to experience the physical and mental decline, what she missed most was ministry to other people. When she could no longer write the cards on the computer, she could no longer type out the prayers for the persecuted church. They were just mentally, there were things that she just could not mentally do. She couldn't remember how to do that. And it just showed what her heart was, that she wanted to be doing those things for other people, and she missed it. So she thought about people a lot, but she was no longer able to go and visit. She was no longer able to use the phone and pick it up and dial somebody's number purposely and tell them what she wanted to say. So just know, all of you that are here, there were a lot of times she thought about all of you, but she just could no longer reach out. And God gave her a long time that she was able to do that, and she spent many years ministering to other people. But that was hard for her to say.
Everything I know about Voice of the Martyrs began with Clara. Everything.
So I don't like to speak in like Laura said this, but I will share, like, we came to Southern Hills as volunteers for Voice of the Martyrs. And one of the things that we learned being a volunteer of Voice of the Martyrs is that there's a lot of apathy about it. You know, it's not touching us, so a lot of people out of sight, out of mind. But she did really care about it. And she was enthusiastic. She brought her magazine. And one of the last things that she said about it was she was worried about not being able to send them a check. And I would reassure her, that, when you give and you care and you pray, that is something that you're doing something. So I know we've gotten on a conference call with people, all like volunteers from all over the U.S., and they had lamented about the apathy. But one of the things that I will always appreciate about her is that she cared. She took it seriously, but also she always she reminded me of my grandmother in some ways, in terms of just that warmth and always happy to see you and just kind and allowing you to love on her, and we didn't know her as long as Ariana did, but the fact that she would allow you to just love on her, and she was so sweet. And so that's one memory of her.
She did action tags, the Voice of Martyrs. I mean, when she organized the women of this church, she'd get those action packs up here. We'd be up here on Saturday mornings, packing those with all of the things for it. She was the one that did all of it. She ordered them, she got them. She was the instigator of that. So that goes way back. Probably before most of you all in this church.
Anybody else? Just want to encourage you that your life matters. Everybody in this room, your life really does matter. And Clara made a difference.
I just wanted to say how wonderful she was, especially when somebody was out. And she made sure that we got the CDs. And I appreciated her so much for doing that when I had to be out, either because I was sick or with my mother or because I had to be traveling to take care of my mom. But she always made sure that I had a CD of the sermon along with a copy of the bulletin so that I'd be able to read along with it. And one of the other things I remember one time, she asked me one day what I needed prayer for. And I said, you know what? I said, I just had such a terrible time with patients. And she says, well, you don't want me to pray for patients for you. And I said, why not? She goes, you never pray for patients, but he'll make sure you get something to have patients for. I remember going out the hallway that day and her saying, don't forget, you don't pray for patients, you pray for grace or anything else, but don't pray for patients. And that night when I was doing my prayers, the first thing that came out of my mouth was patience. And I'm thinking, I wasn't supposed to pray for that. And I did, with some kind of obstacle that I had to work on for patience. And I told her, I said, you know what? I said, the first thing out of my mouth was praying for patience. She said, didn't I tell you not to do that? I feel you're missing some kind of conspiracy, you know.
Clara had an interesting level of self-awareness that is refreshing, always to be around. She knew she was a sinner. She knew what her weaknesses were, and she always sought to try not to have any attention drawn to her, because I think genuinely she was a humble lady. And I think the latter part of the years of her life, I saw more and more of that. This is one of my memories of Clara. It was not long after Wimpy passed. She called me over to the house. She said she had a question she wanted to ask me, and I was already over here at the time at the church and went over there. She said these words, and I had one of these very cathartic moments with Betty Sue Pruitt before she moved away to live with her son with she had cancer. My cathartic moment with Clara Grimes was when she called me and she says, God's given you a vision for Southern Hills, hasn't he? And I had never talked to anybody about it, just kind of the big picture. And I just said, well, why do you ask? She said, I don't know, she said, that's what I've been praying about. That's what God's laid on my heart. I said, okay. Keep praying. She said, oh, I will. I said, but she said, I just want you to know one thing, that I'm asking God to give you courage to do what he's given you to do. I walked away from that episode with her thinking, she's not going to be here to see it. This is going to take a long time. But she knew. And she said, I'm praying that God will give you courage. So that's one of my moments when you're a pastor, you hold back a lot of information. You don't tell a lot of people a lot of things that people tell you. It's called confidentiality. So I'm going to let that out of the bag tonight, because Clara was a lady who never stopped growing in Christ. And God never stopped changing her heart. She was always pliable clay in the hands of the Lord. She was a learner and a student of the Word. And God used her because she put herself out there to be used. And so I tell you that because some of you in here need to hear that. I don't know who needs to hear that. God's not looking for perfection. God just looking for people who will make themselves available to Him and just say, "Here am I, Lord. Use me." And that's what He did with Clara Grimes. It is well with my soul. Probably one of her most favorite songs right there. Anybody else? One of the other memorable moments that I had with Clara. I didn't know this story until recently. One of the ladies, one of you ladies, made this comment to the maybe to Barbara Allen, I don't know. But one of the things said about Miss Clara is that she often anonymously bought meals for children in need. So she was that lady who she gave a lot. She gave a lot. When I hear the stories about clothes shopping and looking at jewelry and things like that, it's really interesting because she hated to spend money. Like she didn't like to spend money on herself really often. That just didn't thrill her. I mean, she would do it, sure she would. This just wasn't her thing. She liked to look at things. She didn't like to spend a lot of money on anything. And so when I think about the fact that she anonymously bought meals for children in need, that is no surprise to me. And one of the other things that she said to me that is branded in my mind, Betty Sue Pruitt, I wrote this in an email to you all, so you've heard it before. Betty Sue Pruitt had said to me years ago before she left, she leaned forward and she grabbed my hand and she said, "Preston." And by the way, Betty Sue Pruitt's husband was one of the pastors here at one time, Dale Pruitt. He and Brother Charlie Gibson were together here. And Betty Sue said to me, she said, "Preston, you pay attention to men in your church." And I thought that was an odd thing to say. I didn't, usually if I don't get something, I'll say, "Well, what do you mean? Explain what you mean." She just simply said, "Pay attention to the men because you're going to need a few who will stick with you." Yeah, that was 2010. 2011 when she said that. And this is one of those moments where somebody says something to you and you're like, I don't know what that means or how that's going to be helpful. But as time went on, I began to understand more what she meant. And then there was Clara. She said to me, she said, it's almost as if they had the same notes, I don't know. Clara said to me, she said, we prayed for many years that God would send us children to Southern Hills. When we came in 2005, there were no children. There were no children under 12 years old. Pastor Barry had adopted a little girl, and they had one little girl, and that was it. We came, we brought 3 children, and then we put some water on those 3, they became 6. Oh, I'm sorry, that was the Gremlins. That was a different movie, sorry. But she would always remind me, and she's not the only one who would remind me this, but Barbara Hopkins would remind me, Gary Hopkins, one of the men who would come on Saturday nights and come in the sanctuary and pray, and George Jenkins and Wimpy. And I would come up here and these 3 men, and sometimes Dan Honig would join us. I'd come up here on Saturday night, and these men would just be here praying on Saturday night. And I would just listen. And one of the things that they would all remind me of, and they're wise, is that we pray that God would give us children, God would send us children. And I always thought that was interesting, and really what I think the heart is trying to say in those moments is we want Southern Hills to have a future. Mm-hmm. I really believe what the heart is really saying is we want Southern Hills to matter. We want Southern Hills to matter in the future. We want Southern Hills to take VOM to another generation. And so in 2011, we brought VBS back to Southern Hills in 2011. They hadn't had VBS in years. We brought it back in 2011, just trying to generate interest in invest in our children. And so I remember Clara saying this. She said, Preston, pay attention to the children. Make sure that you're doing things, investing in them, having things that matter to them. And she said, educate them. I haven't been able to unpack all of that yet. What that means is still pretty fresh. But I think there's a voice in the elderly that what they're saying is, if we don't do something different, if we don't take some risks, if we don't serve children and youth, it's not going to matter what your address is, what your building looks like, or whether or not your plumbing works. Because there won't be anybody here. So these are moments, these are huge epiphany moments I had with these women that I want to share with you, specifically tonight. Because I think God was speaking through these wise women. And they knew something I didn't know. And they saw something I could not see. And they believed certain things needed to happen if we're to have a church for our children. And then she left. So those are her words. Those are some of the most memorable words I've ever received from those two women. We're going to sing one more song. We're going to eat some ice cream and enjoy what Clara enjoyed. We're going to eat some cookies. And you don't have to limit yourself if you don't want to. Let's sing Victory in Jesus. Page this one, huh? This is the only page number I don't know. 426. 426. Let's stand as we sing our last song. Of his cleansing power revealing, I will make Thank you all for coming. Thank you for making this a memorable evening together, and especially you ladies from your school days and all the influence there. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Let me just offer a prayer, and we'll have some Bluebell ice cream and homemade cookies, and maybe a few store-bought cookies. I don't know. Father, thank you. You give good gifts to the church. And tonight we've been able to hear about and remember one of the gifts that you gave us at Southern Hills, but not just Southern Hills. You gave a gift to the entire world of Christians, church at large, universal. We thank you for how you used a small, frail lady to reach across the world and touch a persecuted church. So we thank you for Clara. She lived a significant life. Even though she had many regrets. Even though she had many sorrows. She has none now. And she waves the banner of Christ's love over her forever. And we are jealous. We're jealous of her. But in a godly way. For one day, we too will join her. Help us to be faithful. Help us to persevere. Help us to never give up the good fight. Help us to finish the race with our hands high. In Jesus' name, amen.
Because he's sitting back there.